My CEO fired me while pregnant. She was 7 months pregnant, standing in front of the entire office, when her CEO looked her in the eyes and said,
Pack your things.
Pack your
You're
things.
done here.
You're done here. Nobody defended her. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. But 3 months later, that same CEO would walk into a boardroom, see her husband, and realize he had just destroyed his own company. This is Broken Then Powerful, where pain turns into power. Emma was 29. Stable job, small apartment in Chicago, baby on the way, and a husband who loved her deeply. Every morning she pressed her hand against her stomach and whispered, "We're gonna be okay." Her CEO, Daniel Mercer, ruled through fear. Sharp suits, cold eyes, zero empathy. Women disappeared after maternity leave. Promotions quietly vanished. But nobody spoke up, because fear is powerful. Emma stayed quiet, worked overtime, even when her swollen feet could barely carry her, because she needed stability. One Monday morning, Emma finished presenting a marketing report when Daniel interrupted her. In front of everyone, "You seem distracted lately." She forced a smile. "I'm doing my best." He leaned back slowly. "Well, your best isn't enough anymore." Then his eyes moved toward her pregnant stomach. And everyone understood exactly what he meant. Emma felt humiliation, pain, anger, but she stayed calm, because sometimes silence is the last piece of dignity a person has. That afternoon, HR called her in. No warning, no discussion, just paperwork, termination, performance concerns. Emma walked out holding a cardboard box, while coworkers avoided eye contact. 3 years of loyalty, gone in 10 minutes. Outside, rain poured across the city. Emma sat alone on a bench holding her stomach. Her phone rang. Ethan, her husband. "Hey beautiful, you okay?" And for the first time in years, she broke completely. That night, she expected Ethan to panic. But instead, he sat beside her on the kitchen floor, held her hand, and just listened. When she finally stopped crying, he kissed her forehead and said, "They made a mistake." Emma shook her head. "No, they destroyed us." Ethan looked at her calmly. "No, Emma, they revealed themselves." There's a difference. The following weeks were brutal. Nobody wanted to hire a heavily pregnant woman. One recruiter even smiled and said, "You should probably focus on motherhood right now," as if becoming a mother made her less valuable. Some nights Emma sat alone in darkness, wondering if her daughter deserved a stronger mother. But pain changes people, quietly, slowly, like fire shaping steel. One night, she opened her old laptop, not to beg for jobs, but to build something of her own. She uploaded one design online, then another, then another. A bakery contacted her, then a startup, then a clothing company, and slowly, everything changed. Within months, she was making more money freelancing than she ever made at her corporate job. Nobody controlled her anymore. 6 months later, Emma gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, Lily. Tiny hands, bright eyes, and the same quiet strength as her mother. The first time Emma held her close, she whispered, "You saved me," because losing everything had forced her to finally discover herself. 1 year later, Emma's freelance work had become a full creative agency. 20 employees, major clients, national campaigns, and she built the kind of workplace she once desperately needed. Flexible hours, paid maternity leave, respect, because people never forget how they were treated when they were powerless. Then one Tuesday morning, her agency received an invitation to pitch a major campaign for a struggling tech corporation, Daniel Mercer's company. She almost didn't go, but Ethan smiled and said, "You're not going for revenge. You're going because you earned your seat at the table." Emma walked into that same conference room. Same glass walls, same cold atmosphere. But this time, she wasn't carrying fear. She was carrying confidence. Daniel walked in, still arrogant. Then he looked up and froze. "Emma?" She smiled politely. "Good morning, Daniel." His eyes shifted to Ethan. "Wait, you two are married?" Then the board member spoke. "Daniel, this is Ethan Cole, our potential investor." Silence, because Ethan wasn't just Emma's husband. He was a senior partner at one of the largest investment firms in the country. The pregnant employee Daniel humiliated and fired was now sitting across from him as the owner of the agency his dying company desperately needed. Beside the man who could save or destroy on everything, Daniel tried to recover. Well, this is unexpected. Emma looked directly into his eyes. You fired me while I was pregnant. You humiliated me in front of everyone. He swallowed hard. That was HR's decision. No, Emma interrupted softly. It was yours. The room went silent. Because truth doesn't need volume, Emma's agency got the contract. Not through revenge, but because her work was simply better. Months later, Daniel was quietly removed as CEO, but Emma never celebrated his downfall. Because real growth isn't revenge, it's freedom. Years later, she'd sit beside her daughter at night, looking at city lights, remembering that rainy afternoon she got fired. Back then it felt like the end, but it was the beginning. Because sometimes, the people who break you accidentally introduce you to your power. Have you ever been underestimated? Tell us your story in the comments. Your comeback could be our next video. Subscribe to Broken Then Powerful, where pain turns into power.